it's
I
super weird.
I've never been on TikTok. Oh, that's just disgusting and terrifying.
Hey, we made it. We did it.
We're live?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that we are live? That's disgusting and terrifying. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking instead of having like a teed up thing, let's see what our topic is tonight, Chris.
Oh, random topic tonight.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's
Rando
see.
topic. The last time that we had a game, I was trying to do the flight stuff. That was so hard.
Oh, the flight mechanics? Yeah.
Yeah, flight mechanics is insane. It's like, how do you make that? I mean, the combat itself, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I'm going to figure it out.
Well, that's something I was thinking about earlier today, about adding extra mechanics into D&D. I feel like I always over add stuff because I'm trying to make some cool thing and just becomes overly complicated and becomes a pain in the ass to even use sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes like reminding people that it's there breaks that immersion thing, and so it's like hard for you got to view it as like its own monster.
Yeah, but sometimes if you're having those stuff in there, you're gonna want to use it.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it's just like another another thing,
Mm-hmm.
But which is fine.
That's why I think we've all pretty much forgotten about the Skullforce Ninja stuff in there, because it was just like one other thing and another thing it's hard enough to remember what spells I have.
Oh yeah, and then it's like I mean, maybe the ship doesn't get a turn because that seems to, like, people don't know the rules yet of the ship either.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's. I mean, right now it's detracting.
Well, anything new is going to take time to understand and to use. Just like the first time you're playing a new character, it takes time to really understand how you play them, how you work with different abilities and the ship. It's how do we work with the crew, and that's something else about it is we have a crew. We have a group of minions to manage.
That's true.
While all of that is happening.
I mean, it's fun. It adds like another layer to it, but it's just like I don't know if it's how fun it is, but I know that like once we get into the point where, I feel like maybe the boarding thing, just to jump in with the boarding, like another ship comes in. Now I got two ships. That's two monsters and the group and all your minions and all the ship's minions. And then the storyline that I have to create up on the fly. And then the NPC. And it was just like too much. So maybe like we'll do a session where, or at least an encounter where it's just the ship.
Well, yeah, don't let the boarding happen. Like two ships are flying and fighting.
Or like one just keeps shooting at you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I digressed. We didn't get to our topic yet. But
random tangent alert.
Random tangent alert. Yeah, where's my random tangent? Here it is. It's so funny. Okay, so let's talk lore, Chris. It says we've got 3 options. Here's some top options. A deep lore dive. That's always fun.
Okay. Yeah.
Essential campfire tales for your D&D adventures. And forgotten lore, the power of timelines.
Any of those I like.
Yeah.
We could do a D3 or a D6.
Oh yeah. All right.
Let true random.
True rando. Well, we're probably gonna touch base on all of them, but let's see which one first.
Yeah.
So, 6 it is. So essential campfire stories. So Chris, in your D&D games, do you think having campfire tales is good for your adventure? Now, it could be
absolutely.
It could be like the characters around a campfire. It could also be referencing campfire stories from your childhood that you bring into the game, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, initially when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking of the party is camped out for the night, sitting around, and of course, like some random NPC is going to be telling a story, and I instantly thought of myth and legend and the crazy stuff that adventuring parties go after. So it's a perfect way to introduce new things. Plot hooks or
plot hook.
Foreshadow events and dangers and like warnings or messages to the players or prophecies or anything else. It's a nice way to, when at the end of the day everyone's settling down, getting ready to rest, they're breaking out to their watches, and that's a nice time for role play of interacting with the players and players interacting with each other. It's like, we're not really traveling, we're not fighting, we're not doing that stuff. We're sitting and talking and having fun. And this is like a great little story to pull in.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, yeah. And I mean, so you're saying like you could have your plot hooks, you could have like immersion storytelling. It could be like a little lore drop on their background. You know, what makes the character frightened and all that stuff. Or think
even just like the normal
talk,
like myth and story of like the tale of like all the Grimm fairy tales or other tales like of werewolves and things to scare kids around a fire. Bigfoot. So
you could use it to sort of grow your world in the sense of like what's out there, what's mysterious and out there.
What stories would these people be telling about this place?
Yeah.
It's a way for you to put your world building into the story, into the minds of I thought of this really cool mountain cave and these creatures, and I want to share it somehow. It's like, I'm going to make a really cool story that's been terrifying these people for generations.
I think like if I were to do because I always overthink it, but hear me out. So if you were the power of essential, so first off, the topic was essential campfire tales, but we're talking about just general campfire tales and using it in your story.
Yes.
Now, if I was going to use a campfire story to make it interesting, I would have the group sit around a campfire, and maybe there's an NPC that tells a story, or maybe one of the group members wants to tell their own story. And then, because campfire tales are supposed to have, when I was growing up, they obviously were there to scare you, but there is a moral lesson in a good campfire story because you want to be able to relate to it. I can't wait for my kids to be older. The campfire story is going to be fun. I'm going to see how I can weave a moral story into it. But if this person does that and then the monster comes and gets him or whatever, what if you guys meet after you play your session, has nothing to do with the campfire, but maybe every now and then you see something that relates to the campfire. Maybe the end monster killed someone with a cleaver, and you go back to the camp and then
all the foreshadowing from the story.
Yeah, and right at the end of the session, Chris, your character Stag, lays down and puts his head on his pillow, and bang, he takes 1 bludgeoning damage, and he flips over the pillow to see what it was, and it was the dagger thing or the thing that the guy killed. And then all of a sudden,
the thing from the story,
that NPC that was there becomes immediately dead. But so essential campfire tales. I feel like that's almost something that you should tell your group to make before the game. Hey guys,
I think that's a really cool way to bring their backstory into the game, or help let them world build something of where their character is from.
Yeah. Or and if you want to prepare that, you don't have to have 15 tales, but maybe the group wants to go around maybe it would be funny and like you reward, the NPC rewards, or maybe you guys all vote on who has the box, the enchanted box with the item in it has written on it in like Elvish to the best story, and then the group votes on who had the best story that they prepared for the session, so you can sort of reward your players for telling a good story, and then maybe you as a DM you roll and you see which story you want to build on. I think it's good. I think we hit on those points. Great place to do like quests and side quests and just weird immersion.
Yeah, I really love that idea of, if you're ending the session at a long rest at a campsite, everyone's homework is make up a campfire story that your character would tell from where they're from, and when we start the session next time, we're just gonna sit around and tell stories.
Or maybe your story, when you're telling it and you want to, as DM, you want to surprise the characters, maybe there's a flashback and everyone's in the story. You play out the story.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. Well,
there's some magic in the area that creates story to reality.
I'm gonna use that in the reality area. Like things are gonna just get really weird. You're gonna wake up and you're not gonna be in the like the lower dark. You guys are gonna spend at least like 10 years. Random tangent. You guys are gonna spend at least like 10 months traveling from the middle dark down to the lower dark, try to figure out how to get there, and then you're gonna get there and things are just gonna be weird. It's gonna be. I'm gonna take from our previous podcast too. I'm going to take this campfire story, the one where we talked about like how you get your players in the world, or like with the cave that like smells like a cave, and the smell was the only thing that kept your character sane in there. Maybe like the reality thing is going to be wild. Like I'm super excited for that. But
I'm excited to play it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, but then it's like essential campfire stories. Probably just background information from the world, I would say.
It's a fun way to throw lore in there.
Oh yeah.
To world build and to make something fun and unique.
Yeah,
I like it. But you said you can also think of essential campfire stories that, say, we would tell. How do you bring them into D&D?
I'm trying to remember a campfire story. It's so embarrassing too. Well, not embarrassing, but it's pathetic that I don't remember any good campfire stories. And it's always like, woo, at the end, and like everyone's sort of, but it's always like the good ones were always like, to me, the good ones were told by like the camp counselors when you had a camping event at night. You're already a little eerie because it's nighttime and you're in the wilderness, and the campfire, like the counselors know that they should tell a story that relates. It starts out like, you guys ever heard of Old Ben Creek or whatever? He used to go fishing down at the stream behind the pool, and like you can hear the stream. And then like that was the way that they told the stories. So something that you can sort of grab onto. But I like also the moral lessons. I do like the moral lessons that could come out from it. But I guess anything, like they were always like Chucky and Friday the 13th type. Yeah, maybe not Chucky.
Something's good. Something to scare you, like that you think would be harmful in some way.
You're in a Toys R Us that way back when, and you see a doll and it attacks you. That's the worst horror. So like I hope the characters would vote that as maybe that was the best one.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to play out Toys R Us. I don't even remember what that looks like.
I have vivid memories of Toys R Us from South Miami.
86 and Lex. I just remember there was a Toys R Us. They turned it into like a party store that sells balloons, but it used to be a Toys R Us. I remember that. Walking by, you're on the bus and you want to go in, get chopped up by Chucky.
I remember getting a giant unicorn stuffed animal for my sister. That's way too big.
Oh shit!
Imagine.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
Chucky tearing out of that.
You know what was sad too? The Toys R Us was located on the same block as a Blockbuster, and the old movie theater that closed down, which was just as real as possible, obviously. But in the way that they should appear real, there should be old Blockbusters that went out of business in your cities. So that's one thing I forgot. I should have had.
No, you did have that.
Which one?
Had an old shuttered shop in Trigard that we broke into and stayed in for free.
Oh, that's right.
You did have shut down shops.
It was it was an old shutdown shop, and when you went in there, you had seen that the that's right, the assassins or whatever they were.
Yeah, we found some old supplies. Yeah.
Cool. I'm happy I did that.
You did a good job on that.
Hey, pat myself. So yeah, that's your campfire.
Yeah.
Essential campfire stories. Really anything, I guess. But I would say probably to make it better to run. Because I'm always interested to figure out how to run things a little better. I would say like telling the players beforehand.
I love that idea of having them world build a little bit, because it feels a lot of times awkward to try and push like random facts about my backstory into the conversation, but that's a beautiful way to put as much of that in as you can.
Well, what about expanding on that? Are there any other things? So like as a dungeon master,
right,
are there things that you should tell the players before, in between sessions, or that you could use to sort of set up a better run session? Or
I think anything that bogs down time while you're at the table, and as long as it doesn't really ruin any story element. A recent example of going shopping. Hey, we're going to be going to the market next time. Make sure you figure out all the stuff that you're going to want. We're going to use the basic prices, so just have everything that you're going to want, and we'll go through about finding it. Or if you're downtime or prep, stuff that would take a lot of time at the table, I think is great to tell the players ahead of time.
I think anything that bogs down. So like, what are examples of things that bogs down that you might want to tell?
Or like the mechanics that you gave us for the ship, the sky ship. You gave us the mechanics ahead of time so we could read through it and get at least somewhat familiar with it.
So I think I might have made a mistake with that. I gave the mechanics, but I didn't. I think I should over-explain, because you have a whole week or two between sessions.
Right.
Like, over-explain it. Make sure everyone gets it. Because like I was like, all right, who's your captain? And I sent out the list of rules, but like, I think they were too much. So like,
it was worded perfectly for me to be able to quickly reference while we were playing, but having like an explanation of this is what's happening, these are the mechanics, or even as we get started, have that explanation written out that you read to us. So even if we've looked at the mechanics of it, as you're explaining it, it would piece everything together a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very detailed list of rules for the ship.
Three separate documents.
Yeah, but like, you're human as a DM. You can forget the stuff, and I like it. I actually like when the players are like, I think I'm going to use the supercharge, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then it turns out that I gave you a rule for the supercharge, and I'm like, oh shit, love it, because those are the rules that I made. So all right. So I
don't know where we were.
Yeah, we were just talking about campfire stories, but other things to tell your players. Like, I think it's fine to talk about the story and stuff. I always ask what you guys want every now and then. Is there something I can do to assist? I think all dungeon masters should. But
asking them where they're going, or anything to really direct the story where you're gonna want to take it. Like, all right, what's your mission? What's your plan? Figure out where you're going. Figure out who you want to talk to. Trying to think of other things that you would want to specifically tell them.
Yeah, I mean, because those things can also change quite fast. But yeah, what would you want to tell them?
Or have them prepare. I mean, again, I think goes back to anything that would just sit and bog down time. Combat is the biggest time sink in all of the game that we play. But we can't really do much about that.
That's true. No, you can't.
But anything else where we're looking up rules or... I think preparing for it. I think what you did with the skyship mechanics, or just informing people of information so they have time to read through or time to think about it.
Yeah.
Or like if they're gonna have a conversation with someone powerful coming up, like, oh, you guys are in the city and you're on your way to go see this person. We're probably gonna see them in the next session or two, so make sure you prepare for that speech. It's going to be this is the time for you to get the information that you're going to want to.
I agree. And then maybe like, yeah, you could ask where you're going. Where you're going is probably like a good idea, because like
every session
you want to be able to
ask where you're going.
Yeah, what are you guys interested in? Good. So that's a couple things. I feel like there's not a lot. You don't want to give anything away too much, but you know, I always like to say I'm going to get you on this one to someone, because I know that a couple people need some lore drops about their characters. So I want to keep them interested as the game goes.
Right.
So if they're deciding whether or not they need to do something on Monday night, I hope that like little promise of little flair intrigues them to play.
Also, I feel like I am horrible at hiding anything from my players, so that they know like 5 sessions ahead of time all the strings I've been trying to pull, and I think I've been doing an amazing job of hiding it, and they're like, oh yeah, we knew about that when you said this.
That's funny. Well, I think like you can get around that by having them one of the DMs way back when, he had us join a fighters guild, like a hunters guild. Mm-hmm. And I guess you earn certain things, and if you went back somewhere, how many kills you had and all that stuff. But like you get a list of like creatures they're looking for.
Right.
And so I would imagine that each one of those had like a story and a little world building aspect. So like, you could like drop the list at the end of the session and then physically email, I guess not physically, but email the list to your players and say, this is the detail on the list, read it, and we'll do whatever you want. Like, tell me what you want or what you're interested in.
Yeah. Or you have that at the end of the session, and well, that's more of tell me where you're going. Tell me what you're gonna want to go kill.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just preparation. Anyway, anything to make your life as a DM easier is great. Tell me, or a session I'm gonna run for a couple friends. It's a I don't want to go off super random tangent on it, but tell me your backstory, tell me your connections with these characters, probing the information to try and make a cohesive story for the game you're going to run. And I mean, in asking the questions, some more detailed questions, you are going to reveal some of the story.
True.
But if it's gonna make everything, the game that you play, that much better, I think it's worth it.
Yes, I agree. The power of timelines. Now we did one recently on timelines, like making our own timelines.
Right.
Now I'm going to do my best to incorporate that, just in like group chat or whatever. But timelines, the importance of, Chris, what do you think?
Well, it's the history. It's the history of the land, the history of the people. And it tells the story of your world. So
Yes.
if you think of like the timeline of human history that we have today, there's the rise and fall of civilizations, powerful organizations, peoples, wars. It's the history of your world.
Yeah,
and that history shapes the land that's out in front of you.
So timelines, yes. So timelines are the history of your world. And also a cool thing about timelines, and the power of timelines, is that if you do go back in time, like we did in the first Triad, where you did the time heist, first off, they can recreate your world, because if you go back in time, depending on how you use your time, is it the Marvel multiverse where like you do something and like all of a sudden it splinters and or does it change? Is it Back to the Future?
Or does everyone now believe that the world is flat?
Yeah. The guys went back in time and convinced the entire posse of mind flayers in the Underdark that the world was flat, and then they ran through a portal. So now I got to deal with that, which is great.
Which I will have to say, Random Tangent, one of my favorite sessions of, okay, now we're going to break and we're going to split into two groups, and everyone has to debate flat or round Earth.
It was great. I'm still dropping those. And
that was
clips.
That was a perfect example of when to tell your players and give them warning. You told us about that ahead of time, so all of us were doing research on flat world and flat Earth theory and stuff, and had lists and documents and all of our notes to tap onto.
Yeah, I heard Booterbot was like, I did so much research on like what the world would be if it was flat. So funny. And I was like, and so did I. And I actually got smarter because of it. I feel like the information that I had before and after, it said something about like if the world was actually flat and it was orbiting the sun, there wouldn't be a night or something like that. Unless it would just get sort of dimmer.
Unless it was going end over end.
Yeah. But then it would be like super cold at like, I think. Or maybe not. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
If it was,
if it was like a CD and it was turning.
It was like this.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. And then like timeline, you get into the science of it for timelines. It's like, all right, so what's a year? It doesn't have to be 365 days.
Right.
And then you get into like hours. Like the hour are there?
How long is a day?
I think that like you get too into it. I think it's, like when I was talking about it, and I was like, well, the Earth is round, and Booterbot was like, why do you call it Earth?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, damn it, it's Undervan. It's Undervan. But yeah, timelines are a great way to like, it's like a broad, huge, massive world building exercise, essentially.
And it's a blank line until you throw piece of information in there.
Right.
Like if you're traveling through the woods and you find some ancient ruins, there's a new little blip on the timeline.
Yes.
You've discovered a new creation.
Yeah. And then if you're like us and we're almost actually at 100 episodes, by the way.
Wow.
That's going to be sick.
Wow.
I got to do something special with that. But, your story now starts to have its own timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And we
become a point on the history.
And I was thinking about, and again, in the reality and Blue Skull one, where we were introducing the time, like, what if you went back in time on your own adventure timeline and ran into yourselves doing something, and then like the result was something good, like you guys found the skull, or you saved this person, or maybe you didn't save this person that you liked, and then you had to watch it all over again, and like,
or we go back to some time that we remember when we messed up.
Yeah.
And sit in the shadows and wait till we leave and forget the thing that we've been missing for 10 months, and then go back and get it.
Yes. Timelines.
Timelines.
Yeah,
Timelines
like
make time travel make sense.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. And like, yeah, world building too. It's like, well, we are going to go back in time, and we're also going to go in the future, which is hilarious too. It's like,
I'm excited to see that.
They know of you. Maybe you've already done things and lost.
Ooh.
And you guys are like celebrated, and like there's statues of you, but like you lost. How do you? Yeah, what do you do? Like, do you learn how you lost, and then use that information? Like you get trapped in a room, and the room has a button on it, and you do it wrong, and the whole place explodes. But then, like right at the last minute, you go to the future somehow.
Or you, instead of you blow up, is whatever you're trying to save is destroyed.
Yes. Like
and
maybe
you go to the future and you figure out the way that it should have been able to work, and then you go back.
And maybe like the worst thing that you guys did was convince the mind flayers that the Earth was flat, and that's the reason why all these people died and all this stuff. And you go back and you actually help the time dragon kill you, so that Naglin doesn't open up the portal, and then you escape. Interesting.
Or we steal the coin from Ignis, because that's what decided. Or we manipulate that coin to say round.
That's hilarious.
Come up round.
Yes.
That's what you do. All right.
That's so funny. The coin, I forgot where I got that. I looked up a random thing online. Oh, funny items. It was actually on D&D Beyond, I think. You can look up like homebrew items, and the item was like a coin that tells that the truth 50% of the time, and the other 50% it lies. And you don't know as to whether or not it's telling the truth. And every time it flips, it,
Yeah.
So it's essentially a coin, but
it's just a coin.
Yeah, it's Two-Face. Make my own luck. But I would talk about the AI thing. That was a good topic. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that do not like AI for artist reasons, which I understand. AI imaging, AI stuff, but using AI to help you quickly come up with like a,
to help develop your story, or to come up with ideas, or to brainstorm or world build. I like to use it to help build a framework for a story. I wasn't expect the random tangent into the AI.
Yeah, no, I know.
But
I know.
But I love to use it to help brainstorm and come up with ideas, and just get like for the questions, getting a list of questions, or a list of.
Yes.
One of my favorite thing are names, or coming up with really unique acronyms for my characters to have. Like my one character's I forgot what it means, but his detective agency is named Spice, and he is a kobold named Juicy Ramen.
Juicy Ramen.
And his dragon is Ponzu.
AI for me, I mean, you don't want to. I think like You don't want to say, hey, I need a session tonight. You could. Hey, I need a session tonight. Give me something. You could do that. I don't think that there's any issue
what's the
with
difference
that.
between that and searching online?
Google? Yeah, there's nothing. Actually,
well, I will admit something right here. The werewolf fight in the basement.
Yes.
I used that, developed that whole fight and that whole encounter with AI of getting a framework and adjusting how I wanted different mechanics added in, and it helped blend the mechanics and just write it all out in front of me so I didn't have to type it out.
Right. So I have this like beautiful story that I created. Actually typed that thing out, just my prologue. Mm-hmm. That's mine. And I know that people think like, oh, don't use AI because it mashes up everyone and steals from them and then regenerates it. Those are images. Like this one back here is the green skull. Mm-hmm. One of the things for the trolls that say, don't use AI, that we talked about was that, at certain point AI is like the wheel or the paintbrush. Like don't
it's
use the colors. It's like Pleasantville. Sometimes the way that like people view AI is like, don't use it, but it's like one of the best tools you have when you're doing something like this and you don't have any time. I got three kids, a job at 60 hours a week, and like, yeah, I'm going to ask it
on it.
Yeah. It's like sometimes I'm like, hey, which D&D Beyond weapons are funny? Boom, you get like a 20 list and it gives you links, or like, something immersive like the cloud god I created. Make an image of ball. I had you guys create the name. I had a random list of names, and I typed it into chat, and I was like, create a chaotic elemental guy named this, and it was cool. It was really cool. I get though that like you don't want to use AI in the sense of like not own. If you're worried about owning your story or like giving props to people, give props to people.
Right.
Normally, you could also say I used AI, but like to not view someone's stuff or not play, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's also, I'm not, everything that's coming up there, I'm gonna take and rework a little to smooth out the edges to the way I want to, because it's not going to be it's not going to be the exact way I'm going to run a session, or the stat block that I want to use, or I will make adjustments on when I take it out of there and put it into my documents and get ready to run my session.
Yeah,
I'll be making the adjustments, adding some names here and there, be like, oh no, I want this to happen earlier, and just do those adjustments.
I've done it before. Like
it's just your prep.
Yeah, smooth it out. I've done it before. You guys randomly run into a bunch of NPCs and you guys are being dicks and asking all the questions about every NPC's life, and I'm not prepared to answer that. I can do it. It's funny on the fly. I'll do it for a certain extent, but then like, you want to keep the immersion, so you just type into chat, you're like, give me some funny, goofy names for dwarves that are in a mining town. Boom, you got them right there for the next time. Give me a like a 2-sentence backstory on where they're from and why, or whatever. You just plug in your names and whatever it is.
Yeah,
like that is very cool, very efficient, very helpful use of AI for Dungeons and Dragons, I think.
Making your world more immersive.
What I wouldn't do is tell people that the story that you're doing, and if you're trying to sell a campaign or make a campaign, I wouldn't tell people it's yours if you solely used AI to create it, because there's no copyright with AI stuff. So if it's not yours, so there's like a gray area there, but I think it's completely fine. I think images like this are fine. I think creating like a a table to roll on is fine.
Well, think about what we're talking about playing a game with your friends.
Right.
This is using a tool to help make that time more fun and enjoyable. Last night I played in my local game here, and the first 45 minutes of that session I was just laughing. And
I want to do that.
I've been incredibly stressed the past month with a whole bunch of personal life happening,
as we all are.
At that moment, that was exactly what I needed, was just to laugh. And if I can have another tool to help make more moments of fun, enjoyable time with friends, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to use it.
Well, I think I get it. I'm on your side with the AI stuff. I think that the one thing that people say is bad in the anti-AI stuff as it comes to Dungeons & Dragons, just in general, you're looking for a list of, let's say, a table. I want a table of sky encounters.
Right.
You type that into chat. First off, chat is going to give you what you ask for. So you need to, there's an art to telling the right prompt. And if you don't do it, even when you say, give me all the research about round and flat worlds, it's not going to give you the gravity. You have to say, I want to know about the gravity in the flat world. It's sort of like an advanced search engine. But the reason why people get upset about it is because if you're creating a random sky encounter table, and there are 15 different people who've published books, like on D&D Beyond, who have made these things, those are used in AI to create those tables. So what they're saying is they're not getting credit for the AI use of those tables when you use it on. But that's...
I understand that, and I absolutely
sympathize, right?
Yes. And that's a much larger world discussion of AI training data and where that comes from.
But here's a direct relationship though. I'm a plumber, right? Mm-hmm. Plumbing company. I go in, locate leaks, and I solder them, and I get out.
Right.
I fix them. What if AI comes up with a way? Some of the job is to go in and locate the leak.
Right.
Find it. Takes I would say sometimes, a good portion of the day is just addressing, troubleshooting, trying to figure it out, and then you find it. You either make the repair or you show up the next day. But a good portion of that is thinking about it. What if AI comes out now and there's a way to and uses all of my knowledge that I've typed in and all the and it can tell you where the leak is quicker? Am I to say I'm not using that because I'm not getting credit for it, but the guy who is going to use it is going to get there, get the job, get in and out faster? No. Well, it's a tool. It's a tool you should use.
Well, it's not just saying you using it. It's saying that your competitor, the person you're directly competing with for business in New York, is going to use that same tool and be able to fix leaks faster, and you wouldn't be getting credit. But it's still a tool that we all get to use.
Yeah, and
it makes the world better.
Should I not be allowed to post on these Reddit D&D sites because my imagery in my YouTube channel picture is generated using AI for a program that I pay for to help me generate it? Am I not? I got kicked out for that. That was insane. I was like, look at all this content I'm creating, and it's fun to watch, and they kicked me out because of that. That's insane. But I'm pro AI when it comes to obviously the artists get.
Yeah.
If you have to cite it, I obviously wouldn't be able to do any of this without D&D Beyond. That goes without saying. Wizards of the Coast, and a lot of the stuff I've taken from the Dungeon Guild. It's just a big place where you can get stuff. But to sort of hate crime AI users is insane. I think that's going to blow over, though.
But it's... I'll hold back a little. But I absolutely understand the training and the information that's used to create the AI and the responses that you're getting. It's no different than me reading all of that information, reworking all of the knowledge that I have to create that other document. Like if I like your table of the sky encounters, yeah. I would, if I went and read all those books or read whatever was free online and came up and created a table, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that.
No.
And that's the same thing that is happening.
It's just faster.
Yeah, and I understand the training, the data used to train.
Yeah.
But that is a symptom of technology moving faster than
making comprehend.
Yeah, than law and everything else.
Yeah.
I think that's like what you said. It's a short-term struggle
for sure.
For a longer-term gain.
Yeah, and it's not like don't use AI, dude. Reddit has an AI filter. Like Google uses AI. Every single company, your cell phone uses AI to type text messages better. You're not going to use that, or like simplify your emails. I mean, come on.
Confirm, so I don't throw this company under the bus if they don't want to be. But like you said, every place you go to, they have an AI something.
Yeah, and they have to. They have to, because more and more people are going towards it.
Yeah.
But
like with Canva, you go into Canva where you're there with a bunch of tools to create documents, and here, new tab, it's an AI image generator.
Yeah. Instagram has AI things. I use those all the time for my my polls when I put them out there. Right. I should do more polls, by the way.
Yes, more polls.
But yeah, so AI
to mess with us.
AI for D&D, I would say, to make it easy to use. Like, you don't want to obviously build your world around it, because the fun part about D&D is building your world yourself. But once you have the framework, you can use it to, as you said, crisping up the edges, or whatever you want to do.
Right.
I think it's good for names. I think it's good for quick little backstories or something funny.
I think also the other concern is the idea of AI DMs, and then you're just playing a video game.
Yes.
Or it's a.
I would
go ahead.
Like to see what that's like.
Yeah. Well, I know there are a number of a couple of websites that are doing it, that are like, when I read about a year ago, can only imagine what they are now, of a choose your own adventure story, but it's real time developing the story and integrating your choices into how the story is created.
There are AI companies coming out that create bedtime stories for your kids. One of the things I was reading about said that, you can, if your kid is having, and what I was telling with my wife who does the behavioral therapy, one of the interesting things is, you can, if you're having a problem with your kid at school acting out or talking to, or saying something they shouldn't, like don't scream in public or whatever, listen to your parents, or eat your greens. It will, you can type that into the setting. Is there anything specific moral lesson, going back to the campfire stories now, that you'd like for us to create a picture book story for your kid at night? And it will generate that it will have your kid's name or whatever name you want. Like, let's say they have a stuffed animal, so they can really relate to it. And then there you go. Like, that is such a. But to relating back to D&D, I don't know. There's a lot to work with, and quite honestly, I like how easy it is to use. I think that if you need to, like, you know, like, what's the quickest what's a good list of monsters that are in the Underdark? Like, how do you play what are great, research the web and tell me what the great airship mechanics are and list me. I did that to try to. It didn't work out well. It listed me a whole bunch of. I was like, wow, that's a lot. That's huge, but it's fun to,
But it's a tool.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you view AI in the world.
Yeah. But it's going to be.
view AI as a tool that another tool we get to use to save time.
I wonder if, like, I'm going to. Because I've already created my campaign. Act 1. I've created the forest. I got to finish off the were farm. And then it's almost complete, essentially. I think that maybe since it's in a list, I can just put it on ChatGPT, and I can say, I want you to DM me and Chris playing a session of
this adventure.
Yes. And see where it goes, because chat has, I think they have microphone. I think you can hook up your microphone.
You have voice,
voice. So it's like that'll be hilarious.
All right, we'll have to do that.
Yeah, I'll make a date. We'll make a date, and we'll do it on Let's Talk Lore. And be like, this is terrible. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator cannot DM, but I want it to be the voice of it. Yeah.
That's only the true way to get the low voice perfect.
And AI is a touchy subject, I think.
It's a touchy subject, but I think it's one that it's a tool that I use when I DM.
I think everyone uses it.
And when I play. Thinking of names and it's like you mentioned, it's a advanced search engine. But it's an advanced search engine that can formulate everything there. Yeah,
it's weird. I will create an NPC that I am, like, excited to play and bring into the world, like I did last time. I actually got this Daily Hero Forge, the @Daily Hero Forge on Instagram, to create us a Hero Forge model for our game, for an NPC that actually has a lot to do with what's going on. No one asked him any questions until, like, the very end of the, and so, like, you guys are actually interrogated the orcs more so than so, like, I spent this entire time as a DM creating the story and backstory and mechanics and of this NPC, and more interest was given towards, like, the orcs than the NPC, but I wasn't prepared to give the orcs backstory. So, like, I did it, and I was like, okay, his name is Bob, Grog, and Schlag, and, like, I knew they were going to die, but, like, if you guys asked me for their backstory, maybe you could type into chat. I didn't do this. I didn't even have a backstory. I think you just. Maybe you guys ask him next time, but, like, you could ask, like, a quick little funny story about Grog.
Right. Yeah. And you'll have something. Yeah. Well, another use that I use for my characters is describe how my character is and the key points that I want to throw into his backstory. And there's a lot of other of his backstory that I don't really care, or it'll take me a while to really make that connection. Write me a 2-paragraph backstory of all of this information. And then I read this cool story of this thing, of the event happening, but it describes the event better than I would be able to describe it.
Mike Elmore says, I use AI for fleshing out NPCs with more personality. That's exactly what we're talking about. I also use it for fleshing out homebrew items.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no problem with that.
Anything to save you prep time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And to be more creative. I know it's, as humans, we tend to get in a rut and do the same thing over and over again. We get that one stick and we just beat the hell out of it. But it's a great way to mix it up and be more creative, or at least bring different ideas in front of you.
For sure.
Like a way to have this conversation that you and I are having without having to create a bi-weekly podcast tied to an Instagram channel, tied to a live play.
Yes. I think I'm gonna write yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect comment, Mike. I think I don't know. We could move on to another topic if you want.
Sure. You said we're gonna hit the 3.
Yeah. Deep. So it says legendary dragon of Faerun, a D&D deep dive.
Well,
the question I have to you is, what the hell are they talking about?
Well, they're talking about the world of official Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, Faerun. But we can go into the deep lore of another legendary dragon and I always butcher, or Druven, or however you say the world's name. The black dragon up in the mountains. Deep dive lore into that dragon.
Do you want to deep dive lore into the dark dragon? The black dragon?
Yeah. Do you have all that built out?
Not particularly, but...
Well, you know how we can pull an earlier topic in?
How?
I think you know how.
Like what?
Let's see what Chad has to say about a dark dragon up in the mountains.
Hold on. Let me type it. I don't know. Agoth Doomhand and the Skulls of Power campaign by Dungeon Doomhand. That's us. Give me a quick story about the Black Dragon, who is the keeper of the Black Skull.
Yes.
Or the sage of the Black Skull. Make the story dark but hilarious. 2 paragraphs.
And add in a little romance.
Add a little romance. All right, here we go. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Deep in the putrid marshes of Oozvel, where the fog stinks of forgotten sins, the frogs gossip in Abyssal. The self-proclaimed sage of the Black Skull. Okay. Oh, Abyssal lives.
Yeah, the language.
Lives Skyreflex, the Witherwink. That's the Black Dragon's name. The Sage of the Black Skull. Once a terrifying black dragon, feared for melting nights into soup, Skyreflex, I'll just say Black Dragon, fell madly in love with his own reflection after gazing into the acidic surface of a corrupted pond. Convinced his beauty was unmatched, he crafted an enormous shrine of skulls, moss, and shattered mirrors. There, he speaks to his reflection named Clairbel, as she were a sultry banshee, trading dark secrets from dramaticals. The villagers call it a curse. Skyrax calls it date night. but love has made him unstable. Between the brooding lectures about the inevitability of decaying, passionate, blah blah blah. See, that one sucked.
Yeah.
See, like AI,
I think the romance took over that.
Yes.
But I did like where I was going. I liked he was a normal black dragon, then he went crazy. Now he's even more crazy and chaotic. And like the brainstorming idea, I would never have thought of. It fell in love with its own reflection.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty cool. So like that adds a different. That maybe I take that. The Keeper of the Black Skull. Its whispers have rotted his soul sweeter than its acid breath. He sings to the shadows and weeps into bone-choked pools, mourning a love he might have dreamed. His shadow.
Yeah.
So to learn the skull's knowledge, you must offer a secret, a kiss, or your skin. Interesting. Ooh. But yeah, the Dark Dragon, the Black Dragon, is going to be the Keeper of the Black Skull. Obviously, he's going to have some crazy like Black Skull power. But
what's the Black Skull represent?
Death. I'd have to like look into like the colors of like it's usually
the representation.
Yeah, it's usually
what does black represent?
These I found a website that was really cool that had like color, but we could do chat.
No, we can go there.
List.
But so the black dragon, is it a black dragon or is it? No, it's just a black skull.
It's a black skull.
It could be a undead black dragon. A Draco Lich.
It could be, yeah. It could also be a character who becomes a black, You did that in one of the sessions. That was pretty cool. Black often symbolizes things hidden, secret, or unexplored. Obviously, like a void.
Yeah.
It conveys strength, sophistication, and control, associated with formality and timeless style. High-end brands. Dark symbolism. Cultures of black is usually funeral and grief, danger, sinister, emptiness. So like I always like with the Green Skull, you had the nature and stuff, and like yes, it's beautiful and stuff like that, but nature is also very sublime and very weird, but also very like there's rot and greed.
Yeah.
Green is a symbol for rot and green as well. So psychological associations. Black is often associated with countercultures and resistance. Wearing black can be a signal of self-assurance and seriousness.
So how do we take that into dragon or the region?
Shadow duality. Yeah, so also night. Maybe
it's permanently dark there.
Yeah, maybe it's all night, and maybe like Robert Frost, but it could also be, death is good because I wouldn't say Robert Frost maybe, but yeah, no, I mean, death comes, but it's also a transition to something else, not necessarily like to heaven, but like it's sometimes like if black is associated with an end is always associated with a start of some kind.
Right.
So
yeah, when one thing ends, something else begins.
Yeah, and like, does he? I don't know. Like there's a lot of power in the black. Obviously he's going to be evil. He's a black dragon.
But
like
the other thing about dragons is dragons always influence their environment. So all of that stuff about him is going to be that whole region.
Yes.
And as you were talking and describing that crazy idea, you're saying like death is not the end for there's something else beyond maybe there's a town in this region where everyone is undead, but they're just, they're not like mindless, they're just going around living as undead creatures. Yeah. Like you see skeletons sweeping the streets and then go and serving drinks as people, undead creatures, or a zombie tries to drink something or gnaws on a bone sitting at a table.
I love maybe like, so you know how like this, I'm trying to visualize this. Imagine like there's a mountain, there's a black mountain,
right,
where the dragon is. Imagine like it's sunny out, there's no clouds in the sky, but the region around the black mountain looks like there's a shadow on it. Like it looks like there's a cloud above blocking the sun. Like that's the look of the whole area. So things are like to get you immersed into the realm. When you walk in there, it's a struggle. Like the weeds on the ground are struggling. They're peeling away from the shadow, trying to get to that sunlight right at the border.
Yeah.
You know, and you walk in there, things aren't necessarily all dead, but they are dying. Or constantly
struggling,
constantly stuck there, everything looks as though they're drowning. You know, everyone is pale. You know, and then you take the pale aspect, like what would the encounter that you should have with people there is the same feeling of like blank, like
nothing.
Weird.
There's nothing to these people.
Yeah, like they don't know joy.
No will to live.
Yeah, but they are.
But they are.
Right? In hopes that, you know, because there's a duality to the black, so like in hopes
maybe.
You know. But with the dragon, you know, I feel like the black...
Well, you said control.
Yeah.
The control, so maybe this is a place in the world where there is slavery or enslavement of the people by the dragon. If they're working for him so that he doesn't kill them. Or they
flip it on its...
Or, go ahead.
You could flip it. Instead of having the dragon in charge of all the slaves, it slowly becomes realized that the pale people are actually
in charge of the dragon,
in control of the dragon. I don't know how to do that. Chat.
Finding a way to create a non-physical force so the dragon doesn't want to leave. It needs to be there for something.
Yeah, I feel like there is where there's no... So in order for their famous quote from South Park, where there can't be hate without any love. No, there can't be love without any hate, so it must be good to be... There can't be good without bad, so it must be good to be evil sometimes.
Okay.
Right? That's what it was.
Yeah.
So maybe the people need the fear of the dragon in the realm to feel some sort of love, maybe. Some sort of...
To feel... Good. Oh, you said resistance and freedom fighters, too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the dragon being there is giving them a will to actually live.
Yeah.
Even though the dragon doesn't realize that if he leaves, the darkness will leave with him over time. But every time he does leave, they no longer fear him, and then people start allowing themselves to die because they're not having to fight to protect everyone else from the dragon. So the dragon stays.
Yeah, and maybe the dragon just he just has a shadow like that around him at all times.
Yeah.
So like he just thinks that everyone's like this, but they're really not. He's just a wet blanket. Just throws a wet. Like how do you? That's gonna be fun. So like now add the funny element to it. Like I want every encounter to be sort of like a wet blanket. Wow, wow, wow. Like, you know. Would you guys like some lukewarm water? Because that's the only, you know, I made dinner, but it's cold. It's delicious, but like it could have been better because it was cold. You know, like every interaction is going to be like that.
But it sort of has a little bit too much salt.
Yeah, like you finally get the magic item, but it's like sort of broken, not, you know.
You finally get it, and as you hold it, the magic fades.
Yeah, they're fighting over like a queen or whatever, but like the queen is like not only is she ugly on the outside, but she's also just like the worst, like most boring person too. It's like they're fighting over that.
Yeah.
What a letdown. Yeah, maybe instead of being super serious, it's like everything's sort of like a letdown. It's like, well, I lost my tail again.
Oh no, there goes my third finger this week. Oh well.
Yeah, and like weird things happen like magic happens that, you know, force that to happen. Guy wakes up every day with a full head of hair, and he comes home bald. No offense, Chris. But listen, you shave it. You know, you own it. Yeah. And you've owned it for quite a while. Yeah. I will get there at some point.
Well, you did help me realize through your school art project, the first photo of this overhead. Like I'm done.
Wait, which project was that?
Those I don't remember what project it was. It was, I think, where someone was drinking coffee.
Oh yeah,
I remember. And I saw the picture. I'm like, oh no, I'm bald. So I was like, no, just own it and be done. But yeah, stuff like that. Magic is just random, spontaneous in the region. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Yeah. So that reminds me. So one of the art projects I did in college was I got volunteers, which were very easy to find. And I had them, I said, okay, everyone, here's as much beer as you want. And I said, every time you drink a beer, you write your name, and then you write, I feel fantastic. Actually, no, I had their name on one thing and a line of them writing, I feel fantastic on it. And let me tell you something, some people made it to 12, 15 beers or whatever. I videotaped the whole thing as like a performance piece, but it was funny, the deterioration in quality of handwriting, and eventually it was just like everyone quit. Yeah. What if with that in mind, instead of beers, every mile you get closer to this mountain, people become worse and worse people.
Well, I love that. Yeah.
Like, hey, how are you? Come on in. Come on in. But they're all the same sort of encounters. Hey, come on in.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give
you a bed. Stay every
10
but miles.
Like their names change, but it's like, hey, come on in. I'll give you a place to stay. You guys look tired. The next place you go to is like a ratty shack. Oh, you guys could come. There's no food, but I don't have any room. You sleep on the ground over here. The next place you go into, it's like, get out of here. If I catch you around here, or you know. And the last person's just like,
they shoot at them right away.
Yeah, get on out of here, boy.
They stick the dogs on them as soon as they see them.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I like that.
Add humor to it. So there you go. I feel like that's a good way. Life is funny. It's tough. It's serious. It's dark. Oftentimes it can be rough and stressful, but there's always a good joke.
And just like a good...
too serious. Everything will be fine.
Just like a good campfire story, there's always a moral tale.
True.
And I think that's a perfect moral tale for tonight.
That's hilarious. Perfect. You know, I like this way of let's talk lore. You know, yes, we're gonna talk stuff. We're gonna talk shop, but we're also gonna have fun doing it.
Fun. Absolutely. You know? I love it.
I'm gonna.
we're gonna need a lot more use of that random tangent alert.
Maybe it should be tangent. No, planned discussion alert. Wait a minute.
Random tangent alert.
Yeah. That'll be fun. Now, next time, I wanted to see who it was that, because I will be. Someone had requested that they liked our Sky Kingdom build.
Oh, nice.
And he had requested. An
Underdark?
Mike Dynasty 272 on YouTube. He said I said, what would you like for us to build next time? Some sort of subterranean city or another sky island, etc. I said, you got it, Mike. We do need to build some Underdark stuff. We can also build really anything, but Underdark is cool.
Could do a sky island because we have the city, but there's other floating land, and we do want to go try and harvest some of these crystals. So there could be like the city could be its own thing, but there could be this large landmass up there, or like this crystal whatever that we go and harvest from, that has who knows what on it.
I also was thinking, you're in the sky, there's going to be like the White Skull reference and search for that at some point.
Yeah.
And
could there be a floating temple?
Yes. And I'm going to be making a dungeon. I don't know if you guys are going to play long enough to get to it next time, but definitely coming up. But I was also thinking, like, how do you run a dungeon that's not bad? So, like, instead of traps, it's like, you know, you still have
like positive things.
Yes. So,
but
like,
it's still in the same way. Of like you step on a foot plate and a flower lay falls around your neck.
Right. So, like, you guys, maybe the area where the White Skull is, or maybe like a way to get to the White Skull, or like a key of some sort or whatever. Maybe the big temple dungeon is, and you guys are going to go in there, you're going to think it's like trapped and everything. But maybe these traps are like good and they heal you. Maybe you're shipwrecked and like you took a lot of damage or whatever. And all of a sudden this temple's like healing you. You have fond memories of home, and you guys are like spend time, like every other turn I force you guys to like compliment each other, you know. And then as soon as you get the item, all fucking hell breaks loose, you know.
As soon as you take the MacGuffin from the perch,
yes,
the world shudders,
Temple
like flashes in and out, and then it's, instead of everything's pleasant, it's that normal dungeon. Yeah. And now you're inside of it, trapped, racing, having to get out, and you have all the traps ahead of you.
Yeah. You could also go back and put it, and it turns back.
Yeah.
Maybe you take it to different rooms. Ooh. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
So you have to move it from room to room, traveling in the danger.
Yes, and it's super dangerous.
So the question, do you leave it happy and have everyone else go to that other room and then one person try and make it, or do you all go together?
Split the group.
Or
split the group. Each group has a thing, and it turns the other groups Oh my god.
Or are there passages that are only open when the ring is removed?
Yes. So, or you put it in the yes. We're getting into Zelda. Now we're getting into like.
Yep.
That's what we're going to do, Chris. I'm going to do that. See, like no AI there. No AI there.
Yep.
Now I'm going to go make one in AI and be like, I need
now we're
some
gonna
stories,
take these ideas and concepts and use AI to flesh it out.
The bad guys are going to be good guys when the light turns. I mean.
Yep. And if you kill them when they're bad guys, they're dead when they're good guys.
Yes, and you need information from one of them.
Yep.
When there's so much. This is going to be very fun.
Oh.
Wow. We just did it. We rocked the world. Camp stories, AI, things you should tell your players, and the Black Dragon. But most importantly, the Black and White Dungeon. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
How do you say, you know what? One more chat before we go. How do you say... Oh, no, here. What are the words? What is yin yang in Dwarvish? I'm always more of a Dwarvish, you know.
Well, that's this world is dwarf. That's the big mark, the big chunk on the timeline of our world is the dwarven influence for a large part of it.
So here's funny. For dwarfs, this is why I love the AI stuff.
Yeah.
For dwarvish yin yang, so conceptually, stone and flame, or hammer and anvil. I like hammer and anvil.
Mm-hmm.
So homebrew D&D dwarvish, Dethic style, Huldra Angrum, endurance and wrath, Huldra Angrum, or it could be Baraz Felka, but I can use all of those opposites. You know.
Yeah.
Really fucking cool.
Nice. I'll throw one last thing at you because you reminded me of it just now. For AI, in one campaign, I had a character who was a cat, but like normal character, but he spoke a cat language, and I used AI to create the cat language, so I'd be able to type what I wanted to say, and then it would turn it into meows and screeches and hisses, and that's what I would send to people who haven't spent time with me long enough to understand my mannerisms and language. That was good. That was fun.
That's very funny. I really want to run us a encounter using chat as a DM. That's gonna be really funny.
Well, I'll have to find that the website that has been working on the AI DM.
Yeah,
and we'll look into that.
Yeah, well, or like you could have the character be like Booterbot's nemesis. He's like the robot, the Warforged without a soul, and like you actually, you as a DM, role play with it. You know, you could say, okay, you're this guy, and this guy, and you're interacting with this guy. You do not like Booterbot. You're not going to start a fight with him, but you're going to insult him every time any chance you get. Go. Yeah. And Booterbot, you know, because the players say things that you can type really quickly. So, maybe that's it.
We'll see.
All right. Roll high and subscribe.
Yeah,
roll high and subscribe. Hit that button or smash the button or wherever you do it, do it.
I don't think we introduced ourselves. I'm Chris. That's Spencer. Whichever direction that is.
Yes.
Catch us next Monday, this coming Monday, for Skulls of Power.
And the yin yang, as Mike Elmore said, it's actually coal/water.
Coal water
would be the yin yang. So maybe we see the coal water temple coming up.
Ooh,
you know?
I like that.
But we ended our last live stream. You guys got through the clouds on the airship, and we rolled a random encounter, and cows. This one was taken from a DM Guild book. Random cows were flying in the air, and you heard a noise from a small island.
Yeah.
And the guy
cows
says,
with parachutes.
Yeah, cows with parachutes. Moo. Anyway, roll high, subscribe. We'll see you Monday. We stream every week, Monday and Wednesdays opposite. I don't know how to say that exactly, but bi-weekly, alternating every Monday and Wednesday.